Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And as you can see, I'm going to show y'all how to make this nice porch sign. You can make it into your own porch sign. I use permanent vinyl. It was super easy, and I'm going to show you step by step how to do it. So let's get into the video. Okay, so first you will need your board, of course, which I got from Home Depot. It's a 6-foot sign, and it was only $18. Also, while you're in Home Depot, you want to pick up you a stain for your porch sign. They have different colors, different brands. Just choose a color that you like. They have a oil-based, a water-based, and a gel-based. I went with this brand in the color dark walnut, and it was only $13. So the very first step in making your porch sign is you will need to prep your wood. So what I'm doing first is sanding. You want to sand your wood to get rid of all the dirt that may be on the wood, any type of oil or debris that may be on your wood. You want to make sure that you sand the top real good. And I have a sander, but you can also hand sand it. You also want to make sure that you flip the board and also sand the opposite side of the board, and also sand all the corners on your board. You want to make sure you get your board as clean as possible before you stain it. Then once you're done sanding, I got this little brush from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just brushing off all the excess dust that was from the sander off of the board so that the board is nice and clean and prepped when I get ready to stain it. So again, you want to do the same thing for both sides. So I will flip the board and brush the side to make sure that I get all the dust off of the sign. Okay, now it's time to stain. And the directions on the stain says apply 1 coat of stain with a brush or clean lint-free rag. So I'm using a t-shirt because I feel like that was a lint-free rag. And allow it to penetrate for 5 to 10 minutes. I let it penetrate for at least 5. I didn't wait 10 minutes. Then remove excess by wiping with a rag in the direction of the grain. So I used a separate t-shirt to wipe off the stain after it sat for 5 minutes. It also says removal of all excess material is essential to ensure proper dry time and proper adhesion to the wood. So that was the purpose of the sanding, to remove all excess material that may have been on the wood. So here I am again, just staining the wood, and I'm staining one side at a time. So I will use one shirt to stain, and then I will go back once it's dried for 5 minutes, and then I will remove the stain with a different t-shirt because I didn't have a lint-free rag, and the only paintbrush that I needed for another part of the video that y'all will see later. So I used 2 different t-shirts, one for staining and one for removing the stain. And you will do this same process on each side of the wood or the sign, because the sign is 6 feet, so you won't be able to stain the whole thing at one time. So I stained one half at one time, wiped it off, then stained the other half, and then wiped that off. And I repeated the same process for the back of my board. The same process that you're gonna do for the board, front of the board, you will need to do for the back of the board as well. So repeat staining steps on the back as well. Okay, now we're back and we're putting on the second layer of stain for the front of the board. And again, the same process that you do for the front, you're going to want to do for the back. So put 2 layers on the front and 2 layers on the back, and this should be your end result. It turned out nice. This is the color that I wanted to achieve. So like I say, you can apply as many colors, as many coats of the stain as you would like. Right now, I'm just letting it dry. So I actually ended up letting this dry for like a day. You could wait less, but I felt better with waiting a day just to make sure that it was completely dry. So I suggest waiting at least 24 hours so that you know for a fact that it's completely dry. Okay guys, so now it's time to make the actual sign. So go over to your Cricut design space, and this is the picture that I was sent by my friend. She wanted her sign to look like this, And where you see sweet, she wanted her last name. And where you see love and laughter at the bottom, she wanted good energy and dope vibe. So some modifications. So to get this leaf looking thing that's on the porch sign, and the little leaf looking things that's wrapped around family, I went into images in my Cricut design space and I typed in leaf border. So they are already on my canvas, and all I am doing is just adjusting the leaves so that they're side by side and that they're aligned on the bottom so that I can resize them. So once the leaves at the top are resized, I'm going to go over to shapes and I'm going to grab a square. So what I'm going to do with this square is I am going to resize it to the size of our board, which is a 9-inch width. Is actually a 10-inch width, but I'm going to go with a 9-inch width so that it'll have perfect spacing on the side when we actually put it on the board. So I put the demonstration board at a 9-inch width and a 71-inch height, which our board is 6 feet, so it's actually 72 inches. But again, just for so that we will have, you know, a good amount of space. You don't want your letters and everything on your front of your board to go over the entire board. Like, you want some space showing on the side, if that makes sense. So here I am. I resized my leaves at the top, and what I'm doing now is I'm using the text Times New Roman for her last name. So remember, she wanted her last name where you see sweet at on the picture, on the demonstration picture. So her last name is Walker. So I'm resizing Walker to a 2.5 inch, I think I actually used a 2-inch height and a 8.5 inch width. And so you will need to play around with this. So what I did was duplicated the leaves that was at the top, and then I'm going to drag them down to the bottom because it's the same thing. And then I'm going to just flip it over. So again, guys, that's why I use the shape that I use. I use the square and I resize it to the size that our sign would be so that you can play with it, you know, and you can kind of get a visual of how your actual board would look. And again, to get these leaves and the little circle leaf, the little circle border that's going to be around family, that's supposed to be our O for home, all I did was go to images and typed in leaf border, and they came up. So now I'm going back over to text, and the text that we're going to use for home is called Elfie, Elfie. The font is called Elfie, and we're going to use this font for the word home. Once we type in our word home, we're going to go over the entire word and we're going to ungroup it. So highlight home and ungroup it so that your letters can be separated. And then we're going to resize our letters to a 7-inch width and a 10-inch height. So 7 inches width and a 10-inch height for each letter. We won't need the O, so we're going to eventually get rid of the O. So again, we're just going through and resizing each letter, which will be the H, the M, and the E. They will all be resized to a 7-inch width and a 10-inch height. Again, we will not need the O because we're going to use this little leaf border. I have no idea what they call these things. I'm just going to say leaf border that's going to circle around family as our O. Also, when doing this, I forgot to tell you to zoom out to 25% so that you can, because if you don't zoom out, you definitely will not be able to see as much board or as much of the canvas that you're seeing now on your screen, because it's going to be too large. So you will need to zoom out to 25% so that you can see everything. And again, I'm just putting her last name back because some kind of way it got deleted. So that's all I'm doing right here is putting her last name back, which is Walker. And then I want to make sure that everything is changed to the color white, because I will be using white permanent vinyl on the front of the sign. So here you can kind of see how the sign would kind of look and how it's coming together so far. So make sure that when you do use the square shape and you turn it into, you know, your sign or whatever, like I showed you the little trick, make sure that you zoom out. I didn't say zoom out, but make sure you zoom out in the bottom left hand corner to 25% so that you can see more of the actual board. If you leave it at 100%, you will not be able to see a thing and you're going to be scrolling for days. So make sure you zoom out to 25%, guys. And again, to achieve these little leaf border things, all I did was go over to images and I typed in leaf border in the search part, in the search little department. So now what I'm doing is making sure that these little things are aligned so that I can type the word family in the middle of it. And so for the font family, we're going to use the font called Annie Lou. And it's like a cursive font. So we're going to use the font Annie Lou for the word family, and we're going to put that into our little circle that's going to represent our O. So again, we used Annie Lou for the font for family, and we welded family so that it will be all in one cut. And we're just going to center it till we get it where we like it, in the middle of the little circle leaf border thing. And then we're going to weld the entire thing and change it to the color white. And then we're going to move it over, and we're going to also resize it to a width of 7 inches and a height of 10 inches. The same dimensions that we use for our letters, a 7-inch width and a 10-inch height. So far it's looking good. Now we just have to do the bottom, which on the sign that she sent me, it said love and laughter, but she wants to change that to good energy and dope vibes. So again, we're going to go over to the font Times New Roman, and we're going to type good energy and dope vibes. So at first, guys, I will show you that I made a mistake. I typed dope energy and good vibes. And it's supposed to say good energy and dope vibes. So right now, I haven't caught my mistake. So right now, I'm just like going with the flow. And I'm going to type in good energy, in which I almost spelled good wrong. I don't know what in the world I was thinking, GGOD. But I went back and changed it. I caught it. So yeah. So I brought over good vibes and we did dope energy, and then it hit me and I was like, it's supposed to say good energy and dope vibes. So I did catch it and I went back and I changed it. So right here, I'm just lining everything up, and I finally realized that I had it wrong. So always double check your work, especially when you're making a project for someone else. Always double check. So it's good that I caught it, and I changed the size back to a 7.5 and a 2-inch height. And again, for Dope Vibes, a 7.5 and a 2-inch height. So now we are done. This is what the front of our sign will look like. It came out nice. It looks just how I want it to look, except for we have to make sure that everything is aligned perfect. So what I did was, because for some reason it would not let me go to arrange and align everything horizontally. So what I did was I found the grid line, just a regular grid line, and I lined everything up along the center of that grid line. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm aligning everything up on the same grid line, so everything will be centered perfectly. So when we go to cut, it will cut everything in the center as shown here on my canvas, if that makes sense. But you will see, once we click make it, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. So again, I'm just aligning everything up on this grid line so everything will be perfectly centered. Making sure the space in between each letter is also even. That's important too. You want even space in between your letters as well. So now what I'm going to do is weld piece by piece. So I welded the H and the O, so that'll be one cut. Now I'm going to weld the M and the E. That will be one cut. And now we're just moving everything back over to our board once it's aligned and welded. So again, we're going to do the bottom the same way as we did everything else. We're going to find a grid line and center everything on the grid line. Once we have everything even along the grid line and our spaces look pretty good the way that we want them to look, we're going to highlight the entire thing and we're going to weld it just like we did the rest of the sign. And this will be one cut. So Good Energy and Dope Vibes will be our last cut. So the beginning, the leaf at the beginning and the last name Walker will be one cut. The H and the O will be one cut. The M and the E would be one cut. And the bottom will be one cut. So we're going to get rid of our brown rectangle, our sign that was in the back, because it won't let us print that. And then we're going to click make it. So in make it, you want to make sure that all your mats look good and then click continue. So after our project is cut out, I went ahead and weeded everything and laid it on the board, as you can see. And the next step will be to apply transfer tape on the top so that we can transfer it over to our board. So here's what it looks like after I've applied the transfer tape. And I got this transfer tape from Amazon at a pretty decent price. It was like 250 feet worth of transfer tape. So it works out perfect. And here's how it looks right before we flip it over, each cut over and put it on our sign. And I think it's going to turn out perfect. And everything is pretty much aligned. So here I am flipping everything over and transferring it to our sign. And this takes time, guys. Please do not rush this process. You don't want anything lifting up. And I got this little roller from Hobby Lobby that I'm using to make sure that my vinyl is pressed down and that there's no air bubbles. And so, yeah, take your time doing this, guys. So here's what it looks like, and here's a picture of the sign that I was sent. And I think I A+ this. It turned out great. I mean, it turned out really awesome. And now it's time to take it into the garage and put our clear top coat on because we're almost done. So here we got this top coat. I got this top coat from Home Depot, and it's called Ultra Cover in Gloss Clear. I think it was about $13 too, and it's just like a top layer. It pretty much seals the porch sign and seals the vinyl. I see a lot of people use polyurethane. It works the same way, except for I think this is like more so like a clear paint, but it also gives a gloss effect, and it also seals your vinyl, which practically makes it waterproof, and it has no yellowing, so it dries clear and it can stand the weather. And guys, this was actually a 2-day process, so that's why I have on different work clothes. I didn't do a wardrobe change. This is like between 3 days because I have a full-time job, so that's what happened. So when you're applying this top coat, make sure you apply a thin coat. You do not need a lot. I promise you don't need a lot, because if you use a lot, it's gonna dry thick and gooey, if that makes sense, like lumped up. It's gonna be lumpy. So you only need a thin coat. Your first layer is a thin coat, and your second layer is a thin coat, because we're gonna put 2 layers on our sign. So the same process that you see me doing for the front of the sign, you're going to want to do for the back. Once you apply your first coat, let that dry for about an hour, and then we're going to come back and apply our second coat. So right now we're just working on our first coat, and then we're going to let that dry an hour and come back, and then we're going to apply our second coat. And you will want to repeat these same steps for your back of the sign. So this is what it looks like after the first coat, and I'm just going around the edges and getting the excess paint or whatever that may have rolled down the sides so that they don't dry. And as you can see, it's already shining, it's already glossy. And I'm just going over it again just to make sure everything is nice and smooth. And then we're going to wait for it to dry for about an hour, and then we're going to come back. So it's been about an hour. So this is what it looks like after it has dried. And you can see it's a lot more shinier. And it's sealed. Right now your vinyl is sealed, but we're going to put a second coat on the front because I want it just you can never be too safe, So we're going to put 2 layers on the front, and then we're going to put 2 layers on the back, and make sure you do not forget the sides. So on my second coat, I'm not using that roller brush because that rolling brush really kind of got on my nerves. So I just went and got my extra large paintbrush, and now I'm just using my extra large paintbrush to paint because the roller wasn't bad, but it wasn't working for me. So I took the sign outside to let the sun hit it, and this is what it looks like, y'all. Now tell me this ain't come out good. It came out perfect. Who am I kidding? Look at it shining. The light is just hitting it perfect. Look at that stain. Get into that stain. Come on, guys. So this is the end of the video. We are done with this porch sign. My friend is gonna love it. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, and don't forget to subscribe. See y'all in the next video.